I used to think if I just knew, I'd be at peace, and I was wrong. Hey, and welcome to my channel. I'm Mary, and this is The Inner Knowing, a channel where we realistically talk about what it's like to be a deep feeler, have intuitive inner knowings, and be sensitive in a world that's not always so kind. There's a special kind of pain that comes with knowing something before it happens and being unable to do anything about it. I think a lot of the problem that I, as someone who tends to sense things before they happen, deals with is we live in a world where we think certainty will fix everything. We think if I just knew, then I would feel at peace. I'd be able to go to sleep at night and just be fine. If I knew what was going to happen today, I wouldn't have to be anxious the night before. The thing is, knowing does not give you more certainty. In fact, if you're someone who has experiences like this, then knowing makes you have more time to worry and more to worry about, especially if you have a naturally anxious brain or you're just fucking human, because human brains love certainty. And we think if I just knew, I would feel so safe, and that's actually not the case. Knowing doesn't eliminate the fear, all of the emotions that your human internal world has to go through. It doesn't stop the grief, it doesn't stop the anger. You can't control the outcome no matter how hard you try. It doesn't make waiting any easier. It gives me more space and time for my brain to get sticky and worry and convince myself of every type of scenario that can possibly happen to get to whatever I know is going to happen. So, right now, I've been dealing with endometriosis, and I have been struggling with it because I very much want a family. I want to have my own kids, and I want to do that from a safe, grounded, trusting relationship. Now, here's the thing. I have had many woo woo experiences about the outcome of this for me. I know somewhere, somehow, I have a child, and I know somewhere, somehow, I end up with someone that I have a very deep connection with. I've had multiple experiences around this. However, as I'm still in this moment, in my human, in this time, right? Not in that future that I've had knowings about, but in this moment where I'm at, where uncertainty is alive in my life, that future doesn't look so certain to me right now, even if I know that that's what's going to happen. And I don't know exactly how it's going to happen. And that's what makes it more confusing and chaotic. So at the end of this week, I'm having surgery for my endometriosis. A million and one things can go wrong in that surgery. I could lose my ability to have kids. I could find out that the endometriosis is worse than we anticipated. I could find out there's a whole bunch of things that could happen. So my brain has been constantly bringing those up. And it doesn't matter that I know somehow at the end of this, I end up with what I want. Right now, that future doesn't seem very plausible to my human brain in this moment. And so I've been dealing with mountains of fear around this of, am I choosing the right doctor? Am I doing what I can? I'm trying to balance living my life right now and not living in the future. And so in my anxious brain, this comes out as like me trying to control things, right? Like our anxiety makes us want to control things. Uncertainty tends to bring out control. So it's my brain trying to force reality to catch up to what I know is going to happen because I'm uncomfortable where I'm at right now. I don't like this part. I don't know exactly how every twist and turn of me getting to that final goal happens. I don't know what it's going to look like, and I'm terrified to death that it's not going to look like what my brain has created around what I know. I also find myself, like, in these moments, I'll try to convince people around me to agree with my knowing because that makes me feel more safe in it, because there's uncertainty there and there's always the chance that I'm wrong, right? There's always that chance, even with all the woo woo experiences around it, there's always the chance that I'm actually crazy. And don't get me wrong, there are days where I kind of believe that sometimes. I'll try to over prepare so my brain will take me down the path of like, well, we need to imagine the worst case scenario because then you can feel through it now. And then when it happens, you'll be prepared for it. The awful news flashes, all that means is that I've lived through it multiple times. It doesn't prepare me for when it actually happens if it does. And you're probably sitting here thinking, well, if you know that you're going to get the outcome that you want somehow, why are you worrying? But it's really difficult to sit in the present moment with all of the odds stacked against you and trust that little moment where you had a dream or a deep feeling or you passed by someone and you knew something. That gets quieted when my fear brain gets loud. That gets discredited. My fear brain tells me all of my woo woo is bullshit in times like this, and that I need to prepare for the worst case scenario because it's trying to protect me. But what it's actually doing is stealing the peace that I have, that I could be having in this moment, by trying to run me through every possible scenario that can happen. It's almost like a practice round that my brain is trying to create. So instead of, this is something that clearly I'm still struggling with right now, but I've gotten a lot farther than I was 2 or 3 years ago surrounding this kind of stuff. And the thing that I've come to find is I struggle with uncertainty. And the more I know, the more uncertain I am, the more control I want, the more my brain creates outcomes that may or may not happen. I have a blip, I have a knowing about what happens. I don't know, it doesn't always happen exactly how my brain thinks it's going to happen or exactly how whatever vision or feeling I had shows me. I just know that it does. It's a simple knowing, but then my brain takes it and makes it this chaotic, intertwined, confusing, control filled mess, right? So I am learning to tolerate uncertainty. The biggest thing that I have to do when my brain starts going into that place of like, okay, I had a knowing, what's happening right now is really scary. What if my knowing is wrong? What if this? What if that? Like, we're in that place of deep uncertainty. And the thing is, my knowing could be wrong. That's always a possibility. Even if it's the deepest knowing I've ever felt, I always try to leave the possibility open that I'm wrong, which brings more uncertainty and more fear. And it just goes on like a fucking hamster wheel, just running around over and over and over and over again. So when I notice my brain doing this, I return to what I can control. I return to what's happening right now because that's what I have control over. And in those moments where I feel so out of control, and when I focus on, well, what can I control right now? I find that I have way more control than my brain thinks I do. I have control over the fact that I am going to a doctor that I trust. I have control over what types of food I put into my body on a daily basis. If I'm paying attention to my blood sugar, if I'm exercising, I have control over whether or not I let something go and don't listen to it, or I go to the doctor and get blood work done or an ultrasound if something feels like it's going wrong. I have control over putting myself out there and dating, even if I'm terrified that I'll never find someone, even if I know that at the end of the day I will. I'm still leaving room to live my life and allow the uncertainty and the knowing to be there. It's me making my cup bigger, not me cutting anything out. So instead of allowing my fear brain to say your intuition is wrong, I allow them to coexist. The uncertainty and the knowing exist together. So that means that I'm open to the fact that my intuition could be wrong. And I'm also open to the fact that it could be right. And that means that there's a whole bunch of things that are out of my control. And those two things are just there. And I'm living with them, living around them. And I'm letting life unfold without abandoning myself in the moment. So that means when I'm out there dating, even though there's fear happening, I'm not going to go into a dating situation and go into a relationship unless it's with someone that I feel very certain that I can trust to raise my children in a way that reflects the same values I have. So that means that yes, I'm putting myself out there and I'm uncomfortable because the part of me that knows is like, well, we know that someone's going to show up. So why are we putting ourselves on the dating apps? But I also have to respect the part of myself that's struggling with the uncertainty right now. She needs a little bit of control because the outcome of this surgery, I don't have a lot of control over that. I don't have control over what the doctor does while she's in there. I don't have control over mishaps that can happen. So I'm allowing that fearful part of myself to have a moment in the driver's seat to calm herself down. And it's uncomfortable and it's confusing and it's chaotic and everything in here is always like that. But it's learning to find an anchor in that. Tolerating uncertainty is never going to be comfortable. And fully trusting your knowing is never going to be 100% accurate. So being able to hold both things at once and move through all of that uncertainty while also trusting is the way that I found helps me tread water when things get rough, because sometimes the knowing is rough, sometimes the uncertainty is rough, sometimes they're both rough, and I have to keep moving anyways. And eventually, I'll have answers. It's just not today. So, my main takeaway from this is it's okay to have a deep intuitive knowing and not trust it completely. It's okay that sometimes fear takes over. The biggest thing that you can do for yourself is recognize when either of those things are happening and allow the uncertainty to be here, allow the knowing to be in the back seat, and allow yourself to be in the driver's seat. And maybe they're both whispering in your ear, and that's okay. If this is something that you relate to, or you're interested in woo woo shit or self development, self awareness, this is the channel for you. Like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.